Good morning everybody, thank you very much James, and thank you to the BSIA for the introduction. I'm actually going to be speaking on behalf of myself and not Stephen Greenhow. If you're expecting Stephen, I'm obviously the younger, slimmer, smarter version. Hopefully there's no politicians here or report back, but as you know, Stephen is our Deputy Mayor for Policing, so he sets the strategic direction for the force. For those that aren't in London, he's effectively our Police and Crime Commissioner. But he is a huge fan of business and has been instrumental in certainly working with us over the last 12 to 18 months in establishing the first ever business crime strategy for London, and possibly the first business crime strategy anywhere, certainly in the UK, if not in the world. That's the strategy. It's online if you want to. If you Google it, you'll find it. It's fairly straightforward and it just goes through a number of asks. And really what I want to do in the next sort of half an hour is just run through how we came about putting the strategy together, who we consulted, some of the key issues that came out. I don't think any of them will be particularly surprising to any of you. And then some of the things that we're currently doing and some of the things that we want to do in the future. And then really a sort of how can you help us and how can we help you type opportunity. So that's the strategy. It's available online. We don't print things anymore, unfortunately, because we've got no money. So, okay, in terms of the consultation, I'll work the technology out. Back in, I think it was November 2013, we decided to go out and consult with businesses. Now, we did it, we obviously consulted internally with our police colleagues, City of London Police, British Transport Police, and the National Crime Agency. We also consulted with a number of business consortiums, Federation of Small Business, trade bodies and government. I think around about 80 or 90 people contributed to the consultation. Now, I think it's probably fair to say that prior to that, our response to business crime wasn't great. It was very fragmented. One of the challenges I think you face on a daily basis is multiple points of entry into the police service. Who do you speak to? Conflicting pieces of advice, so you'll get someone will come to speak to you, particularly if you're involved in security of large retail premises, come and speak to you about counter-terrorism. Somebody completely different will come and speak to you about volume crime, and then somebody else will come and speak to you about... And often the messages are slightly mixed, or the expectations that we're placing on you aren't always achievable. Lots of asks. So one of the benefits, I think, of doing the consultation is it consolidated all of that feedback into one place. So in terms of the four things that businesses told us: lack of confidence in reporting to the police. We know crime is massively underreported. I'll give you some figures later on in the presentation. But we believe probably only 20 to 30% of crimes where we've got good partnerships are probably reported. So a real lack of confidence in reporting to police. A significant inadequate response to fraud. So high levels of fraud, very, very poor police response to that. And I think, to be honest with you, we're probably slightly overwhelmed by the volume of the fraud and trying to understand it and who took the lead. So I'll cover that. Missed opportunities to work with business in collaboration. So one of my mantras, I used to be the borough commander out in East London in Newham. I was there for 5 years leading up to the Olympics. I worked very, very closely with a lot of the businesses that moved in. And my mantra was always, I want local businesses to be successful. I want them to employ local people because that regenerates the local community. And funny enough, that actually reduces crime and demand on the police service. So one of the biggest ways of stopping people offending is to get them into work. And the other thing is actually getting them a girlfriend. So you can work out which one you'd rather do. But actually getting people into work is a really good thing, and having vibrant local businesses is really, really important. And that's particularly important in London. London is a huge generator of the national economy. So missed opportunities for business collaboration, and also missed opportunities to provide crime prevention advice. So what effective action can businesses take that isn't hugely expensive, that actually mitigates and minimises the loss or the opportunities for loss. And a lot of what we're trying to do now, certainly in the police service, is to start to try and reduce the demand, unnecessary demand, or the volume demand that comes in that we can do through basic crime prevention activity. And that becomes more and more important as we start to go into the next comprehensive spending review, where in the Met we're probably going to have to find anything between 400 and 700 million pounds savings. We've already delivered, or will have delivered by the end of next year, 500 million pounds of savings. But just to give you some sort of context, that's the whole of Greater Manchester Police's budget. So effectively we have had to take Greater Manchester Police out of London. So that's a huge, huge saving. So we are looking for opportunities to just reduce demand so we can focus on the serious harm. So in July 2014 we published the first ever business crime strategy. It's framed around the 4 Ps of the government's serious organised crime contest strategy, which obviously pursue, prevent, protect and prepare. MOPAC's role within that is very much the sort of guiding, coordinating body. And what it does is it sets out a number of asks. So it sets out asks or deliverables for MOPAC, asks for law enforcement and asks for business. And these are the sort of first stages of where we see ourselves going over the next few years. So in terms of the asks, obviously 3 areas of activity. One of the things that MOPAC is committed to, certainly in the short to medium or medium to longer term, is this information hub for business. We're now calling it a London Digital Security Centre. This will effectively become the single point of contact. We hope it will become the single point of contact to get information out to businesses, both small, medium and large, to share information, to develop a lot of the partnership activities we're trying to do. Some of you will be familiar if you worked in London during the Olympics of the CSSC, Cross-Sector Safety Committee. Great name. Effectively what it does is it links into, it's an information hub. And it was a good way of getting messages out during the Olympics, and it's about 120 different business groups that then disseminate information out, and I think we can reach around about 8 million people just by putting one piece of information in. So we want to try and develop that so you get fast time information around fraud, cybercrime, business crime. Certainly that will help us start to reach some of the sort of smaller businesses. We know through the Federation of Small Business that a lot of smaller businesses just don't really feel like the police are engaged with them. They don't know what they can do. I think one of the figures that was given to me, maybe by the Federation of Small Business, was that around about 80% of all cybercrime can actually be prevented by downloading free software. So actually it's not a huge cost for some of the smaller businesses. It's about how we get that software to them and tell them to download the right things. Last area was around performance. So we want to start to produce a London performance dashboard for business crime that's publicly available. MOPAC will start to hold people to account for that, whether it's the Metropolitan Police, City of London Police or National Crime Agency. So being far more transparent about the extent of business crime in London. In terms of the law enforcement asks, we've developed, and I know those of you who've been involved in this area, it's quite a crowded landscape with all the various different bids and BCRPs and trade bodies, etc. But one of the things that we're really trying to push through is this business crime reduction partnerships. We've set up one very, very successfully in Westminster. We've recently just launched one in Lambeth. And we've very much modelled it on some activity down in Brighton. But what this does is it brings together the police and the businesses, and it's quite simple. It's about sharing information and about communicating collectively, so we can start to alert each other around ongoing issues and we can respond in a more timely manner. Second area, and hopefully you started to see some real change around this, is the fraud. So the Commissioner launched Operation Falcon probably about a month ago now, which is our cybercrime response. It will grow over the next 6 months to around about 400 officers. They will take all fraud in London. And I'll give you some figures in a couple of slides around our current or previous response for fraud, which is, as I say, is pretty woeful. And then the last area is about targeting business crime hotspots. So we ran, for those of you in Westminster, Operation Blizzard, which was about putting officers out in the right place at the right time, tackling those people who come in and either commit crime, antisocial behaviour, or just generally create a poor environment around business areas. We've also done it on the South Bank recently in response to some concerns down there that obviously some of the activity in Westminster have moved down onto the South Bank. And we're working on the South Bank now, looking at how we can start to develop that further through an accreditation scheme. And I see Adam's here. Adam's been a key part of doing that with us. So how do we accredit businesses to do the right things, and then how can we put some incentivisation around that with the Mayor and other partners? In terms of our asks, I suppose, to businesses, we know that designing out crime makes a real huge difference. But it's getting in at the early stages. We recognise all the red tape that businesses face, but actually this is worth investing in. So if you can put the correct security procedures in, designing it out at the point of build, there are massive, massive opportunities. And we've worked really successfully, certainly when I was in East London with Westfields, around actually stopping crime ever happening in the first place. And it's all part of the customer experience. People want to go out and visit shops and the nighttime economy and not be a victim of crime. And that's good for business as well. We're also looking to set up some minimum standards. So my colleague Georgie Barnard, who's down the front here, on Monday is launching PAS, which is a police and security initiative, and that's about bringing together with the BSIA some standards and some partnership around how we work better with the security industry. I think someone said to me probably about a year ago, on Boxing Day in Oxford Street, there's something like 300 registered security staff in Oxford Street, all working. There's probably only about 15, 20 police officers. If we could work closer with those, that's an extra 300-400 people with eyes and ears out on the ground that would help us and we can help you. It's just building those relationships so we're far better informed and you're better informed. And then the last bit is about this dare to share. So we're really, really keen on sharing this information. Particularly some of the larger companies, we recognise that a lot of them don't want to share information about cyber attacks, some of the sensitive information. So we're trying to create a safe environment. Actually, it's important that if you're a victim or your customers are victims of cyber crime, that we identify that quickly and we get the prevention messages out so others don't have to suffer. So a real desire to share information in the right way. Just some of the figures for you. These figures are from 2013. Effectively what we did, we tried to identify premises, people that have been victims of crime in or around businesses to try and get a sense of what the scale of the crime was. You'll notice on there's not fraud. Fraud is now reported centrally, and if you put fraud in there, people would probably double. But that's around about 14 to 17% of all crime in London is business-related crime. Now, a lot of these are people who come to business premises and have their bags or property stolen, through to credit card being used, to shop thefts, to a whole range of different things, violence around nighttime economy, etc. So it's a very, very broad figure. And it's a bit of a sort of a finger in the air, if I'm honest. It's our best guess at that time. In terms of the fraud, sorry, use this one. We take these figures from CIFAS. Obviously, it depends who you ask as to the level of fraud. A huge amount of it's underreported. But I think, as a police officer, and I know there's some police officers and retired police officers in the audience, 81,000 incidents. Out of those 81,000 incidents, we only actually successfully prosecuted 10, which is really, really poor. Now, clearly a lot of those are volume crimes, and I think where we've struggled before is where you have a small group of people who target multiple victims. So you can end up with 8,000-9,000 victims of courier fraud, which is a current scam at the moment. So rather than trying to focus on each of those individual victims, what we're trying to do now is actually focus on the smaller group of people who are actually carrying out the fraud, target those individuals, support victims, and then do sample charges. So actually trying to get upstream around some of the fraud activity. Our commitment has been this Operation Falcon. 400 officers is a huge commitment into fraud, online fraud. Commissioner gets asked regularly, why 400? Why not? Got to start somewhere. We don't know whether 400 is too many or not enough. But certainly that's the figure we've started for. And we're really looking for opportunities to collaborate with industry around that group. We've had a number of offers to assist us to do that. And we're not necessarily looking for money, we're looking for expertise, we're looking for staff. I think the City of London have got a fantastic scheme around cyber specials that they operate, which is some of your staff, some of the businesses actually helping, but in a more formal capacity. Part of the Business Change Board, which is the sort of central strategic board that's delivering the strategy, will look at these figures, and part of the performance management will be through that group. And certainly we've been challenged to lift our performance quite significantly. So in terms of reporting, we expect reporting to go up. Reporting is a good thing currently because we know it's underreported, but what we want to see is an increase in the number of people prosecuted and the number of crimes detected. So what have we done so far? We've set up a business crime hub now. This is it sounds really big, sounds like a huge unit. It's actually a very, very small unit. Georgie heads it up in the Met. What we're trying to do is create a single point of contact for people accessing the Met around business crime. You can search it online, you can get the email address, I'll put it up at the end. But it's who you contact in the Met, who's your point of contact. What we're trying to do is try and bring all that together into a single place you can go, both externally and internally ourselves. So we've got colleagues that started to work looking for opportunities to engage with business. They go into the right place. So it almost operates as a sort of a filtering mechanism. But every single borough in London now has a senior officer that is the business crime lead. So there'll be a senior member of staff, a chief inspector and above, who is responsible for business crime within that policing area. And again, if you don't know who yours is, you can email the hub and they'll tell you. MOPAC, so designing out crime, so we've what used to be called crime prevention design advisors, we now call them designing out crime officers. We brought all those together. There's a team of 32 of them. They're regionalised across London in 4 hubs. They are the people that will go out and work with planning authorities to do the secure by design. We're starting to work with them now to do specific areas. So where we get persistent hotspot areas, we want to work with businesses, local authorities to see how we can start to design out those. And then sort of demand reduction strategies. A lot of that is sort of situational crime prevention advice. MOPAC have delivered the change board. Obviously they've appointed a lady to lead on the digital security centre. A lady's Mandy, I think it is, isn't it, Georgie? Mandy's come down from Scotland. She set up something similar in Scotland. Over the next 3 or 4 months she'll be working with MOPAC to set up that centre. 1st of October the Commissioner launched Falcon, which I've already spoken about. And we're starting to roll out the business crime reduction partnerships across London. So MOPAC have supported a member of staff to roll out the model across London through the Safer Business Partnership. It's a charitable, no cost. There is a cost to it, but obviously it's a self-funding operation. It's really around information sharing on a radio link. So it's quite a simple process, and we're very, very keen to engage with people around that to roll it out. As I say, we've already got Safer Lambeth, Safer Soho, and Safer Covent Garden, and they're operating very, very successfully. 1st of December, Monday, we're going to launch the Police and Security Group, led by the BSIA. That just really brings together a number of different initiatives that we're already doing, and it will improve the information, hopefully, information sharing partnership. And the thing that I haven't mentioned is this business crime attitude survey. So we're really, really keen. We do, in London, we do a public attitude survey, which interestingly doesn't speak to business. You're a huge part of London's community, and your customers are a huge part of that. So we want to do the first ever business attitude survey to really understand what the challenges are, what the issues are we delivering on some of the things that we promised we're going to do. That should be done by April. It'll probably going to be work in progress over the first couple of iterations as we start to benchmark business attitudes across London. But I think it's worth doing to better understand what the challenges are. We're going to do some work currently. We're doing some work currently at the moment around Operation Equinox, which is our response to an increase in violent crime. So across London, across all violent crime areas, so domestic abuse right through to crimes in the nighttime economy, we've seen an increase, quite a significant increase. We think some of this is to do with the way we record crime and how it's recorded on the computers. But what it does show is that within certain areas there is quite a high volume of crime, particularly around town centres, nighttime economy. So again, the whole purpose of Equinox is to work with businesses to start to either design it out, prevent it, in some way challenge it. And we want to do that better. And it's not just about enforcement activity against businesses, it's about partnership, working together. Obviously we work very, very closely with Sue Fish, who's the ACPO National Lead for Business Crime, through the National Business Crime Forum, and we've developed a lot of good practice with the National Business Crime Forum. So what do we still need to do? Currently, you obviously need to increase reporting. We know it's under-reported. We're a little bit nervous about this because if we open up the gates and suddenly we get a huge volume of reported crime, what are we going to do about it? It's about trying to manage some of the expectations. But unless we know what the challenges and the issues are, it's very difficult to know what the right response is and where the drivers are. So we accept that there will be an increase, and we're trying to manage and support some of the expectations around that. There's a big gap around what works, so we're very keen around where's the evidence base for some of the tactics that we employ. So we've done a lot of work around volume crime, whether it's burglary through to domestic abuse, where we know some of the tactics that really make a difference and some academic rigour behind that. In terms of what works around business crime, we're really interested if there's anything out there. If not, we'd be quite keen to with support from some of the academic universities, to actually evaluate what works. Then we know we're doing the right thing, rather than it just probably feels right. Business attitude survey I've already mentioned, so again it's about looking at that and how that supports us. Improving the effectiveness of police response. So we've just introduced a new flagging system. So as you would imagine now, there's a national definition of business crime. So we'll flag up. I spoke earlier about what we thought the level of crime was. We've now agreed a national definition, so we can start to really track the extent of business crime in London. And we certainly want to improve their response. So certainly around how the police respond, but we're really interested in how businesses can start to help themselves. So it's a whole piece around prevention. It's not always about the police being able to do it. Some of it's about making yourself safe. Working with some of the partners as well, so we've got really good relationships with the City of London Police, British Transport Police and National Crime Agency. We're now working with the College of Policing, capturing best evidence, best guidance, and some of the other partner agencies. So really, that's really what we're trying to get to. We want London to be the safest city in the world. There are huge economic benefits for doing this, which is why the Mayor's office are interested in this. London is the powerhouse. There's a huge amount of industry and business that goes through London. So we want London to be the safest city. It's a great place if you come and visit. If you go anywhere else, if you go to Paris or anywhere else, I think it's 10 times better than Paris. And it is, I think it's number 1, isn't it, in the travel guide, Lonely Planet travel guide. But it is safe. Crime is going down massively, and you know, we haven't reduced crime on our own. We've done it through partnership. So the police on their own cannot deliver this. There are huge benefits in working together. So we want businesses to become less victims of crime. We want to improve confidence, and we want to increase the number of crimes being solved as a result of the partnership activity. So that's the contact details on the slide there. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to go about 12:20, but Georgie's here, who probably knows more about this than I do. She definitely knows more about it than I do. She runs the unit, has done a fantastic job over the last 18 months in setting it up. But we welcome the opportunity to work with you in the room. If you've got any great ideas, we're happy to try anything you can bring to us. We're willing to listen. And thank you very much. Thank you.